Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for this invitation to appear virtually. I really wish I could be there in person. My name is Jason Preem. I am from a company called Impact Story, which is a nonprofit dedicated to building tools to support the open science revolution. One of those tools is called Unpaywall, which is an open, accurate, comprehensive index of the OA scholarly literature. That open is a really important part for us, and that means that our code is open source, our data is open, we have an open API, and we're a nonprofit. Unpaywall is very accurate, and in fact, it has 98% precision. Moreover, it's also quite comprehensive. It covers 50,000 journals and 5,000 repositories. We've got 180 million metadata records, 50 million full text records, and 20 million records with DOIs. The coverage is actually pretty comparable to Google Scholar, which was shown in a recent paper by Alberto Martin and some co-authors. As you can see, we're in the same sort of ballpark. So let's do a study with that data. That sounds like it'd be pretty fun. All right, what kind of study should we do? Well, let's find out about the expanse and the trends in open access. And so we did that study. It was published in February. Very happy to see that it's already been cited 50 times, which is really nice. Hopefully people are finding it useful. That's a good indication. A quick refresher on the colors of OA is relevant here. We've got green, gold, hybrid, and a new one we minted called bronze. Green is, of course, hosted in a repository. Gold is hosted by the publisher. It's a fully open publisher with a good license. Hybrid is like gold, but it's a toll access publisher. And bronze is, as I said, one we made up. It's hosted by the publisher. It doesn't have an open license, and it's in a toll access journal. So that's, generally speaking, kind of the worst type of OA, because that lack of an open license really hinders some of the approaches that we could do to reuse. So what did we find? Well, we found that the actual percentage of OA is pretty solid. It's about 25% in the DOI universe. Of course, that covers a lot of resources that have DOIs but are not very frequently accessed. Maybe they're very old. A lot of them are kind of back content that no one really reads. So we wanted to dig in and say, well, what about of content that people do frequently access? And there the story, I think, is much more encouraging. It's nearly half of the literature that people actually read is available to read for free. And is that going up? Is that going down over time? Of course, people are really interested in that. We were as well. So our next slide, we want to show that, yeah, that is in fact going up over time. It holds kind of steady. As the OA movement began, we can see a real increase in the amount of OA. We can also see that the percentage of bronze OA is decreasing since about 2000, which is encouraging, again, for those of us who realize that the open license is a really important part of what OA is actually about. So I was asked to make some predictions for this little presentation. I made 3. We'll see if any of them come through. So we've got 80% OA in 8 years. That's my prediction based on the growth curve plus the mandate that we see starting to come online. I think we're going to really see a quantum leap in the amount of OA over the next 5 to 8 years. Also, I predict there's going to be a major decrease in the percentage of bronze OA. We can kind of already see that from the chart. I think that's not a very risky prediction because we can already see the percentage is really decreasing. And finally, this is the one that I think is maybe not being talked about quite enough right now, although I see people starting to think about it more, and that's the fight for open will move to infrastructure. What do I mean by that? Well, we kind of have this model maybe in our heads that the way this would work is that we've got all this free knowledge and then somehow users will get the knowledge. But realistically, that's not exactly how it works. We've got a lot of free knowledge, then we need infrastructure to move that knowledge around, and then the users get that knowledge from the infrastructure. So when I say infrastructure, what am I talking about specifically? Well, I'm talking about search, aggregation, filtering, review, persistence, all of the things that we need in order to actually make use of all of these things we're producing. And I'm not just talking about papers here, I'm talking about citations, I'm talking about identity, right? Scholarly identity, who is who. I'm talking about software that people use to create the papers, and I'm talking about data sets. So what we're hoping to do with Unpaywall is make sure that infrastructure is open. If that infrastructure is closed and it's kind of enclosed by commercial interests, we're going to find that we've won this battle for open access, but we've lost the larger war for open knowledge. For Unpaywall, that looks like this. It looks like we've got our free knowledge. Unpaywall is a completely open infrastructure. We can then move that data into Web of Science, Scopus, Dimensions. These are closed systems, right? They require some kind of subscription access, but that's okay. We're happy with closed systems using the data because we also get open systems using the data as well. We're in 2,000 libraries in their link resolver systems. They use us absolutely for free. Moreover, users can use us directly. There's a browser extension that they can have, that they can download, that will allow them to access the Unpaywall database. And that access is, again, completely free. It's an open source web extension. So what we're looking to do here is say, OA is all about moving knowledge around like water, right? We want the knowledge to flow from one place to another place. We think it's incredibly important that we in the community who care about open, that those of us in the scholarly community for whom this is not just a business model, but it's a passion, we need to own the pipes, right? The pipes that water is circulating around. We need that infrastructure to be completely open. We need to be the kind of thing that that there's just no doubt that everyone's going to be able to use it freely. No one's going to be putting a wall around it and trying to monetize it. So I think that probably gets me to the end of the time that I was asked to use. Thank you guys very, very much for your attention. I apologize if I'm coming through a little unclear or anything like that. This is one of my first times recording a presentation like this. I want to thank my funders and Heather's funders, the people who have helped support what we're trying to do here. And again, I want to thank you guys very much for taking the time to listen.